Yo, check this out. Sam, I am an AC in your sight. That's what I'm talking about. We on the line tonight. Yeah. It must be Friday night, huh? Check it, right? Thought brokers on the air. It gotta be Friday night. You know AC and Sam I am. Every take come tight. They come correct with the true crime. Cut through the hype. If you ain't tapped in yet, you behind on sight. They got the news, got the facts. Every angle they glean. Thought brokers breaking down true crime. Coats in between. Story veterans, seasoned voices sitting the scene. They've been cooking up these cases for a hot minute clean. If there was trophies for getting lit and still going live, they sweep the whole award show. Every medal, all five. Buzz brain, sharp tape, still the logic survive. They keep it honest, keep it raw, keep the madness alive. And it's not only news, it's the jokes that they choose. Words are hard. One-star strip clubs, they review the rules. Very passionate rundowns on them toys who get used. Amazon confessionals, pick a product and muse. Alex murder, OJ headlines, Gypsy Rose in the file, twin flame scammers, Menendez on the case profile. People kidnapped, hoodwinked with a digital smile, scammed and straight up whack. It's in the docket on trial. They don't matter, the fatter that the storyline stack, the better payoff in the end when they're running it back. They break it down frame by frame, every detail intact. Never slack, never clock out, they stay on the attack. Let's act. Sam, I am an AC. Sam, I am an AC. That perspective is key. Perfect duo to make you look and actually see all the bad in the world, all the rot underneath. From the killers to the monsters living right down the street. They ain't stuck on pretty phrases. They don't dance round facts. Ain't too many extra fillers when they talk on the acts. They just lay it how it is, how these villains react. Bang, bang, case closed, bodies vanish on track. What about coats? They got that every chapter and song. From the quiet gated suburbs to the doctrines gone wrong. When the power and obsession run insanely strong. They call it twisted out, tell you why it's been wrong. So long. Somewhere out there is a system that keeps letting it slide. Whole towns look the other way, just protecting the pride. But the brokers pull receipts, bring the truth to the light. Name the patterns that repeat when the money's in sight. Probably best in the world at exposing the scheme. So sit down, let the feed roll. Welcome into the stream. One of the best boy-girl tag teams you ever have seen. Pulling threads on every case till the motives are clean. Words are hard, yeah Sam, but you still land tough. Hard as hell, but you spin them when the topics are rough. Might laugh at the stumbles when the phrasing is scuffed, but the insight stays sharp and the research enough. Yeah, AC, yo, where you at? Light the vibe, set the scene. Joints, blunts, gummies line, keep the stress off the screen. Beer, vodka, or some whiskey while they comb through the mean. Say it with me, pour it up, keep the conscience clean. Thought brokers, name ringing every feed that you see. Sam, I am an AC, bring the oddity spree. Thought brokers, where the thoughts and the brain waves agree. Thoughts and brain matter, that's the only real currency. Thought brokers bring the weirdest little crime to your door. From the headlines to the footnotes you ain't heard before. They entangle all the rumors, leave the truth at the core. Every Friday, different rabbit hole to fall and explore. Yeah. Thought brokers pick a platform, they already on it. From the phone in your hand to the screen where you want it. They lace a random fact, drop a gem, make you ponder upon it. Put a feather in your bonnet with the way that they flaunt it. And if you hate one-star strip club reviews they spit, then you ain't home, you off base. You ain't built for this wit, far from it. Wrong stomach for the jokes that they fit. They stay blunt, never filter, they just let that break. Thought brokers, Sam, I am an AC on track. They don't censor for the comfort, they refuse to pull back. They don't always see it equal, they'll collide in the fact. But that tension be the engine keeping every show packed. Not just hanging out on Friday doing gummies and joints. They dissecting every angle, put a case in the point. Friday nights turn forensic and they sharpen the oints. Every time stamp marked up with the clues in the joints. Thought brokers, hit the follow, like and share what you find. Drop a comment, hit subscribe, keep them front of your mind. Yo, Sam, I am AC, let the storyline climb. Grip that mic, y'all. Thought brokers on time. Thought brokers on time. Sam, I am AC, keep the truth in the rhyme. Friday night, tune in, let it sharpen your mind. Thought brokers sign off. Till the next deep dive. Grind.
Oh, yes. Here we are. Let's see here. This is something different. It's gonna wait till a couple people come in here. And we'll do that right there. We're gonna fix that camera. And God knows we're gonna put a little background there, because right, of course we are. Camera. Got the good clear the Lysol there, you know. So we're gonna do. Oh, yeah, it's all right. Yeah, we'll do that. One of those, maybe. No, that's good. Yep. Hey, everybody. As you trickle in, what's going on everywhere, on every place that we are live right now? Thanks for being here. We're down a Sam, and it's going to be me and you tonight. We are going to talk about some stuff. Probably not going to be as funny because my partner is, we always yuck it up. But as far as tonight goes, yeah, we're probably going to hit some pretty good stuff, which is chock full of nuts show. Let me tell you, it's number 6. We're here. We've done this is the 6th one, and I can't believe I'm doing it by myself, which is weird. So soon, but the continuity's sake, we have to do it. So a couple of things we want to talk about before we really get started is we want to make sure that we get 50 subscribers in our Thought Brokers channel, because right now we're everywhere, right? But we're not in the Thought Brokers channel, and we got no one else is called Thought Brokers in YouTube, so it's at Thought Brokers, which is amazing. You can't forget that. It's really easy. However, we do need to get 50 subscribers on that channel, so that would be huge for us. If you could please help us out. Let me go ahead and put this up here. Should be right there. Thought Brokers, right at the bottom there. And that would help us out tremendously, because then we can go live on that channel. And that's, YouTube has, maybe not my waste paper, but there we go. YouTube has this thing where you got to have 50 subscribers. You have to be somebody before you can be somebody. So we appreciate it. So go ahead and give that a follow if you can, now or in the future. And, how's everybody doing? Let's see. More peoples. How you doing? Hey, everybody. Let me do the comments. Or the comments? Chat. Hey, chat. There we go. Let's go ahead and put, while we're here, let me go get some Telegram. I'm sorry, stereo action. Get some people over here. Do I even have that app? There it is. All right, cool. We'll start a quick one here. And we're going to shuffle some people over here. We're going to go Thought Brokers. So they can hear it too. Right, let's do it. Cool. So we got that. Yeah, we're going to keep it classy. No thanks. Cancel. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we're going to keep that down so nobody really hears us. Then we're going to pick a topic, and then we're going to put in own topic. We're going to put in join us on YouTube. Thanks for your patience, guys. We're going to get started in just a moment. So we're going to go to YouTube. And then we're going to put in our link here so people can join us. Make sure we're live and people can hear me. That's a big thing. I have never been alone on the Married Couple podcast, which is crazy. How about that one? How about them apples? So we're going to go here, and then we're going to share this bad boy. Good thing nobody's watching. Excellent. All right. So right here. Hey, everybody. Hello. On all platforms. No one on YouTube, but on all platforms. Michelle, I think it's a new watcher listener. Welcome. It's an odd time to join me, but welcome nonetheless. And I promise I'll make it informative for you in just a moment. Wanted to make sure to there we go. There's my voice again. Just going to share this out, and we'll be all set to go. Okay. The Married Couple podcast. Perfect. We are there already. And then we'll share that out to the people in stereo, and then we'll be all set. Join us on YouTube. Awesome. Right. Cool. So tonight's, let's get into it, I guess. Tonight's, we're going to talk about, which is, for the month of June, we're doing a more introspective thing. We did, why is true crime a thing? Why is true crime something that people gravitate towards? Why is true crime something that people might want to emulate as well, which is pretty crazy to even think that. But that's what kind of tonight's show is kind of about. It's number six, when the observer becomes the offender. So you might think like, wow, first of all, like, why are we fascinated by true crime? We've talked about this a little bit, and it is kind of a phenomenon, right? Most people just believe that they're a detective, period, and nothing you can do. Video, great. Let's do this. Virtual background. Yes, I understand. Let's blur it at least for you guys. See that? Great. Sweet. All right. So a little blur. Excellent. So people think they're just detectives. That they're observers. They're investigators. But what happens when someone just steps through it? I think that's the crux of this one, that we've still been marching towards that, because we did a whole episode on why people like it, what we get out of it, what we think we can, why it's a social activity, and the, when we step through it, everything changes. And I think, so tonight on the show, we're going to explore the strange kind of the space where the spectators become participants. And you might not have thought about that, but for murder groupies, we'll talk about prison pen pals and internet sleuths and copycat crimes and online vigilantes. And, we're examining that, as well as when curiosity turns into obsession, right? What happens when, I know Sam and I are going to do dark tourism, which is a huge thing. That fascinates me. People who just hang around and wait for something horrible to happen and then go visit that place. There's more nuances, of course, to that, but we're going to uncover that soon. Why do people watch darkness from the distance? And just like that Tool song, like I keep mentioning, I want to watch things die from a good, safe distance. I want to read about the poison. I want to know about, how did he die and what intrigue was about it, but not in my backyard. Just keep it at arm's length. I'll watch the whole world die, and that's a perfect microcosm for this, because at what point does interest become identity? Another question that we're gonna kind of broach. And are any of us immune, as we'd like to think, right? Because you think, not me, but really, so do all those other people that things happen to. So, tonight's discussion probably is going to venture into exploring the uncomfortable part of the distance between the observer and the person that actually kind of gets in the thick of it, right? It could be smaller than you think. So, so let's get into it. So, why did true crime dominate podcasts? We talked about that. It was 2008 when the first dedicated podcast came out, and people were hooked. Public executions, right? Those things were something that were huge back in the day. Basically, if you think about it, it's kind of like a true crime. People used to go there and be like, yeah, kill him. What did you steal a loaf of bread? And then people were like, ooh, which is insane to me, and anyone to this point. I mean, I'm sure there's people who want that for, there's certain people in the world that I'm not going to mention that are certain files that it definitely should be, we should think about doing that. Maybe there'd be a lot less of them. But, so excuse me. So, we talked about murder ballads back in the day, courtroom spectacles, and then it turned into podcasts and court TV, which is a huge thing. So a key thought there is human beings have always consumed stories about danger, if you think about it. So it's not like a new thing, right? People want to be close to danger. People want to have that gray area between the, I know I can solve this, but not too close. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, and it's share screen here, because I think it's important to talk about a couple of things that are really, really kind of important here. What am I hiding? Can you stop? Let's go here. I'm going to share this one. Share it. Sweet. So check this out. This is a pretty cool thing I came across here. Define cool, but histo. Let me get this right. I'm going to butcher it. Hybristophilia, and I was practicing this as as I was walking through my house. Hybristophilia is a clinical term of paraphilia, where sexual or romantic attraction is contingent upon a partner committing an outrageous or violent crime. This condition manifests in extreme obsessions with notorious offenders, driving intense public fascination, obsessive fan mail, and even prison marriages. Prison marriages. Like, so in our last podcast, Roses Are Red with Rose, we interviewed a correctional officer that was big on TikTok because she was having an affair with an inmate. It was insane. And you think about this, and you think there are people who just wait, right, for people to go to jail, like I don't know, Wade Wilson, the Joker killer, the guy who made spaghetti out of a woman, right? So that guy got 600 pieces of fan mail. He could have gotten married to, pick of the litter. And I think it's just boils down to control. Like, it's mostly ladies doing it. I hate to do this. Sam would kill me. But there's plenty of, like Gypsy Rose and the guy who ended up with her. He did the same thing. However, it's kind of skewed a little bit. This guy was going to meet a girl that definitely knows where he's going to be every day. Right? He's not going to be out. Well, I'm at the bar. I'm out at Moe's. No, dude. I know where you're at for life, which is safety over. It's like a normal life is kind of crazy for me, right? Think about that. So a couple of notorious cases of this hybristophilia, right? So again, a sexual or romantic attraction contingent upon the partner committing an outrageous or violent crime. So they get off on that, and that's a prerequisite to be with them. So Ted Bundy had a fan mail. 79 through the 80 trials was highly publicized. Bundy drew a large crowd of female spectators because he was a good-looking guy. Even everybody says it. Oh, and shout out to our guest last week, Laurel Chamber. She was awesome. What a sport. Super cool. She's a gem, and she was a sport for the whole thing. She actually, in her travels, she knew about, I believe her mother. I'm not going to butcher this. She told me tonight. Her mother kind of came across Ted Bundy, and he robbed her bank because he was a teller, and she was the one that he got the note and slid it over to her, and which is crazy. And she was like, "Sure, like whatever you say." And later, when all the grapings happened, she was like, "Oh my God, that's the Leonardo DiCaprio with a beer," that's him. And she picked him out. It's crazy. And she said, like, he's actually a good-looking guy. That's probably why he gets away with a bunch of shit. Richard Ramirez, marriage proposals. The Night Stalker got married. I mean, I can't get a call back, and the Night Stalker is getting, marriage proposals. The marriage proposals while on death row, which is, someone explain that to me. Yeah, I would love that. Laurel was amazing. How are you? What's up? Is that you? Is that you back there? Is that Dave or my partner? It don't matter. It comes as a package deal. So you got the Night Stalker here. He did some heinous things, but corresponded with the former magazine editor Doreen Lioy. She corresponded with him for years and married him at San Quentin in 1996. Way past. I mean, we're talking about, this is a long time after he courted him. Like, she courted him, and how do you fall in love with, like, I guess everybody can fall in love. That's I'm not gatekeeping love, but my God, what I'd love to talk to someone. I would love to have somebody on the show that could do the pros and cons of that, And then psychologists suggest that admirers, so we're talking about admirers right now. We're talking about people like pen pals, people that get married in jail, people that get fan mail sent to them. There's a whole subreddit, right, about it. And I brought this up because it's probably the best summation of this. So psychologists suggest that admirers are generally drawn to the story as much as, if not more, the actual criminal. So the story has a lure. The primary psychological drives behind this phenomenon include the myth of the bad boy, and redemption. So many women suffer from the misguided belief that they are uniquely special and can fix or tame a killer, transforming a violent predator into a loving partner. I can fix you. It's, yeah. Uh, I don't know. I just don't know if that can happen. I just don't know. But yeah, I can fix you is a major thing outside of this realm. So imagine here, which is just everything stacked against you. Um, and then you have the control and zero risk romance, right? So for the women, as I was saying before, with the relationship anxieties is like incarcerated partner offers a perfect boyfriend fantasy where they know exactly where he is. He's completely compliant. There's nothing he can do, and that's really like the only lifeline they have. Um, Performance of notoriety. So another thing that happens is associating with high profile criminals grants admirers a twisted form of fame. Clout. Being chosen the partner of a notorious killer allows them to step into the spotlight and gain media attention. And as close as you can get, but from a safe distance, right? You didn't do anything, but you're still riding those coattails. I wouldn't want. Why would you want to be associated with that? It's insane to me. Trauma and the rescuer syndrome. So many individuals with hybristophilia have histories of childhood trauma or abuse. They may subconsciously seek a mother to the vulnerable or victimized child the criminal once was, or making the trauma feel familiar, attempting to heal past wounds through a warped caretaking dynamic. So this kind of you need me kind of what was it codependency. This is a huge thing that nobody really thinks about. It's like, well, I can only I can you need me, you know, and that can be seen in a whole slew of like we've done so many stories on mama's boys, right, and daddy issues. You can almost draw the line back. It's incredible. Something happened in trauma in their formative years. We keep mentioning Peter Dupas. I'll keep mentioning every single episode until we do the episode on here on Thought Brokers. I feel like I can do a lot more research, on him, of which I've done since then. But he's one of the most gruesome killers in Victoria, Australia, and that was heinous. But I feel like I have a lot more to say about that, and I'm going to lobby my partner to help me do that again. I know we reference him so much, and I'm sure people want to know what the heck that is. So, and then, these pen pals, and we're going to look at. I'm actually going to look at impromptu. I'm going to look at Wade Wilson. So Wade Wilson is the guy, right, that everybody thought was super hot, and Wade Wilson pen pals. And so Wade was a guy who killed, a death row inmate convicted of 2024 of brutal murders of two women, became the focus of an unusual true crime phenomenon. Following his high-profile trial, thousands of individuals, many of whom female admirers, flooded him with messages, love letters, and photo submissions despite the nature of his crimes. He looked like a jerk in jail. In court. He was absolutely smirking. He looked like he was no remorse whatsoever. He had these Joker tattoos. Everybody can see me here, right? So Buddy has Joker tattoos. Look at it. This guy's like looking at the victims, like parents. You know what I'm saying? Like they call him the Deadpool guy because his name is Wade Wilson. And if you remember, that's Ryan Reynolds' name, right? So there he is, Court TV. We covered this extensively. We got a whole episode about it. Watched courtroom footage of this guy smirking, it's crazy. So we're going to look at that exactly. We should probably revisit this guy because now I heard he's fat, and that's good, right? So I heard he's having way too much prison wine and toilet wine and that thing that where they put everything in there, right? So this guy got so many letters, man. This guy was inundated with this guy, inundated. Look at this dude. People are out here like good, like law-abiding people who didn't. Let me put it in perspective for you. This guy ran over a woman over and over again until she was, quote, the officers like spaghetti. Let that sink in for a moment. And then he goes to jail with those things on his face, and on top of it, gets inundated with, and then the world is fair. This guy, the world cannot be fair. It's impossible. I mean, you're stacked against you. So that's Wade Wilson. Heard he put on a few pounds, and you should probably call somebody, because I'm sure. I'm wondering if he actually got some with someone. Let's find out. Okay, let's go here. We're going to share this instead. We'll go backwards. Sweet. So we left off here at the massive volume. So within 1 month of his 2024 conviction, the Lee County Sheriff's Office reported that Wade Wilson, the gentleman that we're looking at here, hardly a gentleman, received nearly 4,000 messages, dozens of letters, hundreds of photos, and some content being rejected by jail because, obviously they're sending him like, smut. Like, let me take a picture of myself to reward this man who's killed. They just don't care. They bypass that, right? It's cognitive dissonance, or it's something where they don't care, or it's some kind of prestige. He got international pleas. Many supporters wrote directly to the judge presiding to the case, like pleading his life sentence. Please don't kill this cute man. Media focus, bizarre, widespread idolization, convicted, dubbed him the Deadpool killer. He also it was a product of serendipity with movies happening, and it was just happy. He had the right name. It was some kind of a triumvirate of like stupidity that happened. And he explored in depth in documentaries like Paramount Plus's Handsome Devil, Charming Killer. I haven't seen that one yet. And the current status is that his Wilson was formally sentenced to death in August of 24 and was transferred to the Florida State Prison system to await execution, which will probably happen in like 20 years, which is, I don't even know how to feel about that. And that's Wade Wilson. And that's what we're talking about with pen pals and with people trying to, kind of date people. And we just talked about it. Why? What's the deal? Like what do you get out of having someone in jail, in prison, knowing that without the possibility of parole, and then getting there? You know what I'm saying? Like, so thanks. It's me, Sam. I am. Hey, how you doing? He's hot, and they're not connected to what heinous crime he did. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Laurel. So yeah, sure. He's connected to a heinous crime, but by proxy. I mean, that's what he's known for. You're seeing him on television because of that heinous crime. So how can you disassociate from that? I guess, we had three females on the last podcast, and they were all like kind of swooning, all of you. He can't cheat. That's exactly what I said earlier. It's that the perfect boyfriend syndrome, right? Like, I know exactly where you are. I know what you're eating. I know when you go to sleep. I know when you have a snack, and it's just like, I guess dating a toddler, it's like, now he's down for his nap. It's gotta be. So I guess if that's what you're into, some people have been, I'm not knocking anybody. Some people might've been so hurt and so, totally, dragged through the mud that you just want to know if somebody's there. I get that kind of now. But yeah, so we just talked about hybristophilia, right? And once again, it's a sexual kind of chemical firing that just makes you want to, connect you to this person sexually because they did some heinous crime, which is, to me, something I can't relate to. However, there's all types of stuff we have. Like, we've talked about so many things in the last 2 years of doing not this podcast, but the last one. And it really got us prepared to take off running with this, because we talked about so many things. We had so many guests. We had so many people that had lost loved ones right away, had, hard interviews where maybe the week before we were kind of like, kind of roasting a murderer, not the people, but roasting the guy. If you murder somebody, you're up for roast. So, and then the next week we have to kind of put on the straight face and and talk to somebody who's actually in pain. So I'm looking forward to kind of doing that a little bit more. So hopefully you guys will be around for that. So let's talk about next. Works better than Life 360. Absolutely. Using Life Correctional Penal Code 360. Right. Exactly. I know where you're at, baby. And that's all I want. That's all I want, baby. All right. Let's reset here. So here we go. Whoops. You go away. Thank you. Close that. Thanks. I'm working with one screen. Bear with me. All right. So let's talk about. So we talked about fan mail. We talked about kind of like prison relationships a little bit. If anybody has a comment to do with that, is it danger? Is it attention? Is it belonging? Is it meaning? Is it just groupie, like just being a groupie? Let's look at something real quick. You know, I'm going to go off script a lot. So let's go for prison groupies, which I didn't have exactly up for that. But let's do this live, okay? So you know this is a live show. So prison groupies refers to individuals, most commonly women. Sorry, ladies, you're getting a bad one tonight. Are romantically or sexually obsessed with incarcerated criminals, particularly infamous murderers, serial killers. This behavior scientifically recognizes hybristophilia, which we just talked about, a condition where people derive sexual arousal or romantic attraction from a partner's violent or criminal history. And we just saw this, right? And then I want to see if there's any more famous people that we may have missed. There we go. This looks like a good one. Wikipedia hybristophilia. Great. Let's do that. So we're going to share this one instead. There he is, Ted Bundy. Do you think that guy looks good? I mean, I guess he was like for the 70s, he was a good looking guy. I don't know. You tell me, ladies. You tell me. Does work better than Life 360. So let's go to a little bit deeper in here, right? So we got Jodi Arias, right? This is what I wanted to see. From Waireka, I'm not sure how to say that, California, obtained her household name status when she was convicted in 2008 for the murder of her boyfriend, Travis Alexander. Her 2013 trial became a national media sensation due to the highly salacious and graphic nature involving themes of obsession, sex, and Mormonism, which are things that are, not on my bingo card today. Due to her publicly recognized attractive physical appearance and well-spoken manner, seen in the TV interviews, she captured massive amounts of sympathy and fascination from fans. Here's the other thing. The court of public opinion. Are you hot, right? Some people were just, like the ladies that I do a podcast with for the last couple of years, they're like, it's in the eyes. I see it. It's in the damn eyes. He has no soul. Sure. I mean, somebody could possibly be born with like a soulless looking eye. I guess the other witness to the soul. I won't argue that now. But Jodi Arias was definitely a part of it. And she had up to 27 supporters chatting with her, as well as she had 27 like guys after her. For issuing false IDs. So 10 of whom subsequently banned from contacting Arias because they made her false IDs. Since her incarceration at Perryville Prison, Arias still consistently receives fan mail from worldwide expressing love and support. God knows why. Some which occasionally contain sexually explicit messages, of course, from males. Because I would expect it from males. The thing that I think really blows my mind is the females. They know better. They're so much smarter. One of the most famous hybristophilia is Ted Bundy, which we talked about, of course. And he married a woman named Carol Ann Boone, who had met both, were working at the state of Washington, right? The prison there. And he proposed to her while in the middle of proceedings, while Boone was on the witness stand. Boone gave birth to a daughter because they had conjugal visits, because you're allowed to do that, I guess, right? To a daughter who believed Bundy had father. Believed. Stay tuned. Jeffrey Dahmer was another one, serial killer and cannibal, famous. Is said to have had amorous women sending him letters. He was gay, by the way, and he's got a lot of women after him. Like, get the hint, ladies. He's a gay man, and women are like, please, I can turn you. I can fix you. I can even fix that. We talked about Richard Ramirez and Charles Manson had extensive groupies. Lyle and Eric Menendez, that's weird to me because I always thought they were guilty. Sam doesn't. Brothers convicted in 89 murders of the Beverly Hills, as you remember. Huge nation captivating story. Received significant attention from members of the public during and after their high profile trials, including romantic correspondence and relationships initiated from being incarcerated. Both brothers married women who first wrote to them after encountering their case through television. I keep looking at these cases from different angles, and like now I'm looking at through this angle. It's like, okay, I never picked up on that when we did the Lyle Menendez story. Pardon me. So now we get to look at it from the romantic side. And Lyle's first wife, Anna Erickson, initially wrote to him during his trial before they married by telephone from prison. I do. Do you? Put in a quarter. He subsequently married Rebecca Sneed because that didn't work out, right? And after a long history of correspondence, Eric married Tammy Saccoman, who began writing to him during his trial before they met in prison. And it was in person, they wed in prison. So before they met in person, they wed in prison. Say that 5 times fast. The case also experienced renewed public interest on social media in the 2020s after it being like an early 90s thing, right? Particularly on video sharing platform TikTok, where users, often young female adults, created and shared content highlighting the brothers' physical attractiveness, which I don't see. That's just me. And then, let's talk about kind of like the latest one, right? So the latest one is Luigi Mangione. It's like no, don't talk about, right? So this is kind of crazy because this is now the latest iteration of this, right? Hybristophilia in the present form. Following the December 2024 arrest of Luigi Mangione, accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, media coverage documented supporters, sometimes called Mangionistas, okay? Mangionistas. They couldn't get a better one? Attending court hearings and sharing content online. This is the true, like, real Gen Z kind of hybristophilia, right? So psychologist Carly Dober, quoted in May 2026 news.com, described parasocial "I can fix him," quote unquote, dynamics, and stated the fandom, quote, shows tendencies of hybristophilia, end quote, while also noting economic and Robin Hood style contextual appeal. So that's the other thing, right? I don't know if they were going to mention, of course they are, but like the Robin Hood thing, it's like, I'll show him and then turn around and, you got the sheriff of Locksley or whatever, just picks you up. So Mangione in romantic context, and he became the subject of erotic fan fiction. This is what I really wanted to get to, erotic fan fiction. Yeah. Okay. So we might as well see this last one. So since the advent of social media and fandom, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, they were an American mass murder duo who perpetuated a Columbine school massacre. So this is the Columbine people. And let's see what they garnered. I can't imagine much. This is 96. Has had a documented presence on social media sites, especially Tumblr and TikTok. Why Tumblr? Fans of Harris and Klebold refer to themselves as Columbiners. A qualitative study published in 2015 on the fan cultures surrounding Harris and Klebold found that Columbiners function similar to other fandoms, engaging in fan art, fan fiction, and cosplay. That is ridiculous. And you learn something every day. So that's hybristophilia for you guys. And something that I think a topic that I imagine it took us this long to get to, but it won't be far from my tongue now, because now we're talking about hybristophilia being, it could be like the correctional officer that was dating the guy, the prisoner, how they would, just touches and I'll meet you in the stairwell. And it was a lot of risk for not too much reward. And that's what I couldn't square that. I'm sorry if I'm ignoring you guys. Hey, Gypsy Rose had prison hubby. Yeah, two, right? So she had Nick, and then she had a guy who looks just like Peter Griffin. That guy. Um, Ryan is his name. I can't believe I remember this. So yeah, and then Ryan, obviously, because she couldn't get out, she went to prison in Missouri, but she didn't live there. She had to get a ride out of there. If not, she couldn't get out. So she basically she used his ass to get out of there and like get a ride down to Louisiana, you know. And I think that was the whole thing of it, and nobody saw that, and that was plain as day. Like, who the what are you doing? So yeah, she totally had a prison hubby. I never want to talk about Gypsy Rose again. I'm kidding. We talked about her so much. But yeah, so that's hybristophilia, which is out of control. Something I was really excited to learn about with you guys, and I'm sure I need to talk to Sam about it, and we're definitely going to get probably the first 20 minutes of next week's show. We're going to loop her in on what we talked about, you know, and what hybristophilia is and what her thoughts are on them. Let's bring up. Okay. So let's talk about in this segment the internet detective. The internet detective is you, me, right? Reddit investigations. They've taken a serious turn, so much so that people can rely on the sleuths, right? They even say, "Internet, do your thing," right? And it does do its thing. It's kind of a beautiful thing to see. It's like a school of fish going after something. It's beautiful. You can almost like see it in your mind. Every like keyboard warriors across the, and I say that in the best way possible. People that live in this dynamic, and there's all types of things you can do on a computer, but this is one of the most, fruitful things you can do if you're really taking down people that you can coordinate and triangulate people, right? And that's the beauty of this because people are all over the country, all over the world, and you really can't escape them. And Reddit's an amazing thing. As raunchy as it is, as weird as it really is an amazing thing because the communities there are tight knit. Tight knit. It's truly the front page of the internet. So let's talk about that maybe. It's okay. So let's stop sharing. We will share. So let's really talk about the internet detective. So let's talk about Reddit investigations. Let's talk about TikTok detectives. Let's talk about misidentified suspects, which is got to be super prevalent in this because we were excited to get people. We were excited to internet sleuth somebody to death, but is it really them? Are we really qualified to answer that? Do we have the technology? Do we have our? Yeah, we have phones. Sure. Do we have what police officers, forensic people might have? I don't think so. And that's good and bad. It's good. It depends how you feel, what side of the fence you fall on those folks. They have nothing. However you feel about the cops, they don't have forensic people and people who do investigations. They really don't have anything to do with things that are you know why people would dislike them. I don't see how. But uh, certainly we can talk about and harassment campaigns. So we have harassment campaigns that are far reaching in the internet. We can shut down your business. We can dox you. There's been whole movements like that. So let's talk about it. Here's a key thought for you. Sometimes the crowd becomes part of the crime scene itself. Keep that in your noodle. Okay. So let's talk about Reddit investigations. Reddit investigations. So there's r/r// investigations. Obviously the subreddits are like that. Don't look too bad there. So Reddit investigations are huge and long, sprawling things, and often referred to as the internet sleuthing, encompassing crowdsourced attempts by users to solve real-world mysteries, identify suspects, and analyze unsolved crimes. Everybody thinks they're Columbo, and that's great because we're all in on it, and this kind of ties back to the first episode of this month where we talked about like everybody feels better about it. They want to know what's happening in their world. They want to know what's possible, what's happening, how to protect each other, because some people do believe we are a village. We all need to understand these things, especially the more vulnerable part of society, right? Sorry. Apologies. So we have forums like on Reddit, like Unsolved Mysteries, right? r/ Unsolved Mysteries as an active digital archives for cold cases, specific hubs for like the RBI, which is the Reddit Bureau of Investigation. They serve as a collaborative spaces where thousands of users analyze evidence and pool information. There's people of all varying degrees of skill sets too. Dog. Worm, what's going on, man? How are you? Welcome. As you can see, it's by myself today. Sam will be back next week. You're stuck with me. Sorry. Hope you're doing good, brother. Laurel says, in fire investigations, the arsonist is usually part of the crowd. It's true. They come back. We've done, we actually interviewed this parents who lost their son. And the guy who did it, he was laying in the ground and he just came back. They have to. It's a narcissistic thing where they have to see their work and they have to see the reaction on people's faces. If not, they can't, I don't know. They go home and, whatever they do. It's a sick thing. But you can set your clock to it. I mean, very rare is there like a person that doesn't want to see their work, their handiwork up close, and the news won't cut it. You're totally right. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here. Right. So here's the type of Reddit investigation. We're talking about Reddit specifically right now. Cold cases and missing persons users use public records. They geolocate photos. They track flight paths or vehicle logs to search missing individuals or identify the unidentified descendants, right, of the people that might have been murdered or anything else. True crime analysis, right? So communities pore over released police evidence. They grab that, they post it right on there. Security camera footage, which can be dicey. The witness accounts in attempt to deduce the motives and identify the perpetrators, right? And one of the main things they want to do is debunk the media, right? And verifications are like of legacy media, if you will. So they actively investigate viral hoaxes, analyzing digital alterations, audio anomalies. Like, why is it, ARG, which is called an alternate reality game? We should definitely get into that, like Cicada 3301. That would be cool to check out one day. Kind of a huge game that everyone participates in. It's in real time. It's like a big scavenger hunt crossed with like the race. Does that make sense for people who know? And then these people also do notable controversial cases that Reddit might have been a part of that you might not have known. The Boston Marathon bombing. This is probably the most infamous. Following the 2013 tragedy, an active crowdsourced investigation led to the wrongful public accusation of a missing student, Sunil Tripathi. This disaster forced Reddit to heavily restrict doxing, which has reshaped how communities at large across the internet open source their investigations today. And then in 2001, a missing persons case remains a frequent subject of Reddit attention, as even today, as users collaborate to analyze and look at the timeline and circumstances surrounding the disappearance of Jason Jakowski. And as I mentioned, here it is, Cicada 3301. What is that? That's a big ARG game. So they spend months collaborating on a series of complex real-world cryptographic and steganographic puzzles that were originally dropped by an anonymous internet entity. So imagine it's like Squid Games meets the race, the world race where people are, like, oh, I don't know. I don't even know how to imitate them, but they're like, yeah, we can't wait. We're from San Antonio, Texas. We're going to win because we're the best. And originally dropped by anonymous people. So they just like imagine people in anonymous gear. They put these different clues places, big scavenger hunt versus, but it's kind of serious. And so the core rules and limitations. So open source investigations. Their communities enforce strict rules to prevent witch hunts. That's a big thing. It's something that's pretty cool that they self-regulate with themselves. So for instance, the /RBI community, right, explicitly prohibits discussing active, unadjudicated criminal matters and heavily restricts doxing or sharing personal identifiable information, which is called PII. requiring users to hand such evidence directly to law enforcement instead. So they don't mess around with that, and they have mods. Obviously, like who does that? Who's going to enforce that? Mods, and they take their life seriously. Mods are crazy. They have they dedicate their lives to it. So there's like I said, there's the slash RBI, which is the Reddit Bureau of Investigation. It does not have the ability or the authority to perform criminal investigations, but they do look at the body of work. Then there's Reddit page, private investigators. It's just a concentration of actual private investigators that are licensed, like PI, SMEs. And then we have, let's see, unresolved mysteries, right? And that is more of a submissions that would outline a mystery and kind of provide a link so people can follow it. It's kind of weird because it's personal, but it's also it's real, but it's a fantasy to some people. They're so detached from it, they realize that I'm working on something bigger. I wonder what the motivation is. I wonder what the motivation is. Is it really to help people, or is it just is it to them? Is it more of a game? I guess it doesn't matter as long as they're helping, right? So remember that kind of that thing I told you to think about at the beginning of the segment. Sometimes the crowd becomes part of the crime scene. It could, in these situations that we talked about, the crowd could become part of the crime scene if they mess it up, if they dox someone, if they put someone on blast, if they frame the wrong person, if they destroy someone's business, not literally, like financially. They can do that with a couple of, I mean, look at what happened with the GameStop, the game what's it called, the GameStop stock. Say that 5 times fast. They pulled the rug really quick, and it was just a coordinated. That's how powerful the internet is. When there's a coordinated school of people attacking like a big school of fish, there's nothing you can do about it. And I think when people realize that, probably too late, they're not going to understand the power that they had at specific times that we could have done something. So, thanks, guys. Coming up on an hour. Cool. So we're right on time. So much to say. So we talked about the internet detective, right? So does the internet solve crimes? These are the questions that we really wanted to answer, right? Does it solve crimes? I think to a certain extent they do. They've proven that they can. Could they mess it up? Sure. Could the cops mess it up? Absolutely. Right? They're not trained. But at large, there's so many people that can lend expertise. The point is being open-minded and hearing it, right? There's no like leader. If there's a leader, it can immediately be corrupt. No arbiter, right? And that's the beauty of kind of anybody can say anything, but then again, anybody can say anything. Does it create new victims? It can, absolutely. If it's targeted to the wrong person, if it's traumatizing to someone, it's literally a villain story. Where is the line between helping and interfering? That's something that I'm not sure we can answer that with the information provided tonight, but it's definitely something to think about and take with you to next week. And maybe if you guys want to answer that question, that'd be awesome, because I'm going to be thinking about it. Where's the line between helping and interfering? Nobody asked you, right? Nobody asked you to do it. It's just plain, it's kind of rude, but like, are you digging up old feelings for the family? Are you like, I think it's the kind of respect that you handle it with, right? The kind of reverence that you might handle, like sensitive photos or information, samples, audio, video. How do you do that? How do you parade that? How do you show it? It's got to be delicate, but you're never going to win. You'll never win. If you're in it, you're either a hero because it's unsolved and you're trying to bring anyone to justice, which is scary to think about, or you're putting somebody that doesn't deserve it in jail, right? Or doxxed, right? Or worse, or killed. So something to think about there. That's when the crowd becomes part of the crime scene. Hey, what's up, man? And another thing. How you doing? What's up, everybody on stereo? So let's go to the next segment here. How you guys doing? You guys doing all right? Solo thing is pretty lonely. Pretty lonely, Sam. Hope you enjoy your wedding rehearsal, whatever. I gotta mess with it. So let's talk about next segment. Dun, dun, dun. Copycats, fame, and notoriety. And I should have put clout in there, right? Because that's a good thing to do these days for the kids. So clout, right? Copycats, fame. There's always been copycats shit in cinema, in romanticized definitely by cinema. BTK, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to look at some of these people right now off the top of my head. I can't think of it, but I do have a segment ready for that. So we're going to talk about. This is not about people learning how to commit crimes. Okay, this is about people seeing what crime gets rewarded with. Let's talk about that again. Let's repeat that. This is not about people learning how to commit crimes. This is about people seeing what crime gets rewarded with. Attention, recognition, infamy. Those are heavy words that can be promised to you, right? If you were to just have the stomach for it, which is really horrible to say. Let's answer some questions, hopefully, in this segment, right? So, and then we'll take a little break. What do some offenders like? How do they become so famous? How do they become so transcendent in like movie, music, just art, like Manson, right? I mean, he's a fucking legend. Why? Why? Because he's crazier than most. Because he had the face. Because I mean, what was it? What was the lightning strike of that? Because that's not right. Like that guy should never have been seen, right? Like it's just he was a talentless hack. Like I don't get it, right? But for some reason, he is a darling of this and probably the grandfather of all of it. Um, Important distinction. Again, this is not about people learning how to commit crimes. It's what they're rewarded with. You said attention, infamy, fame. Um, I mean, money at times. Definitely what we just talked about. Aristophilia, right? Chicks, guys, whatever. Why do some of these offenders become so famous? Does the media attention create imitators? Absolutely. I'm going to spoiler alert. Are people chasing violence or visibility? Do they really want to be violent? Do they really want to kill somebody? Or do they just want to be like famous? And maybe that's the thing of all things that they would. It's also the easiest thing to do, right? So I think that many people just don't want the crime; they want the spotlight. That's me, right? And that's also our key thought for this. Think about it. Many people they don't want the crime; they want the spotlight. Okay. You know? And you do that like that. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna bring that up. Nice. So, copycat killers. I mean, you've heard about it. You've seen it. You've experienced it to a certain extent from a distance, right? So, copycat killers in the context of true crime, right? Specific details break down into exactly like what these two paths are. So there's two types, right? So there's and you're going to hear this, and it could get misconstrued. So copycat killers in true crime is if we're referring to the popular crime TV series and the phenomenon of criminals mimicking Hollywood movies. That's one thing. The show, right? So the television series Copycat Killers on IMDb details how real life criminals were inspired by major motion pictures like American Psycho, Scream, Saw, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, things like that. And then there's famous cases like real world murders like the Medicine Hat Killers and the Dexter copycat Mark Twitchell intentionally replicated or drew inspiration from pop culture. So let's go into that for a second. Just going to go over here right now. Mm-hmm. So, the psychology of copycat killers, right? So we'll do a little bit of that. So 18-year-old George Knights, who was recently convicted of a brutal stabbing murder of a 38-year-old father of five during a cocaine deal, has repeatedly been called a Breaking Bad copycat killer. In the media, it's true that he appears to be a fan of the television show. He apparently did get the idea to dissolve the body of his murder victim in sulfuric acid, which he did, from the episode. He also used Walter White, the name of the show's main character, as a memorable word on his computer, and reportedly manufactured his own methamphetamines. So you can see the parallels, yeah? However, if he was ever following a television script for murders, he certainly veered off, because the night of the murder, he allegedly told a friend he wanted to rob and hurt someone by injecting them with insulin, not a plan that ever showed up on Breaking Bad. He also had made serious plans to kidnap a female celebrity, but fortunately was arrested before he could do that into action, or put that into action. George Knights is more than Walter White. Is more than Walter White wannabe. He was he was kind of the basis of him, but he was much more. So how about this? How about Carlos Hillan? He's a copycat criminal. The headline of a article in Phoenix New Times on Thursday, November 14th, 2013 read that Mesa man planned copycat killing like the triple murder in Phoenix. Cops say the articles goes to say that the Phoenix case on Tuesday, police say the 53-year-old Michael Sanders killed his estranged wife. So the same way that the infamous triple murder in Phoenix, this guy was going to do the same thing. And they let it be known, which is something that if you hear something, say something, right? But it just goes back to the narcissism. They go back to the scene of the crime. They talk about it. They can't, I want to hit somebody with insulin. Just chill. One thing at a time, right? Pick a lane. So that sure sounded like copycat murder, right, to these people. So within a week of each other, both involved murdering family members, both involved fire setting. But according to the perpetrator, the first crime had nothing to do with the second. It was disjointed. It was, so Carlos Hillan said, I was not even watching the news. I was living out of my car, and at that time had no idea even what was going on. He was doing the thing. He was doing the crime. He was getting his, his rocks off. And people are thinking, oh, this is premeditated. This is thought of. This is definitely something that he was putting together forever. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just not that. It's a whim, right? So, all right. So let's go to howstuffworks.com. And we're going to look at it. I'm going to share this for you guys so you can actually see it with me. So you don't get bored of my face. Bored of my face, baby. Here we go. Oh, toenail stuff. Cool. Toenail stuff. Ew. Okay, so it's just bigger, so I don't have to look at that damn toenail. So, right. So we're going to look at the top 10 notable copycat killers. So remember, the killings are murders committed in a way that imitates a previous murder by another person. The Tylenol killer copycats, Natural Born Killer copycats, the Zodiac copycats, Eddie Seda are notable examples of copycat killers, and movies like The Matrix and the TV shows like Dexter also have been linked to inspiring copycat killers. So anything makes it. Any kind of media is apparently a copycat killer worthy thing. So it's not like you can really protect yourself from it. Every murder is a tragedy, but a spree or serial or mass murders are considered particularly reprehensible, obviously. For one thing, these murders lack the clear motive. With most murders are jealousy, road rage, what have you. This is something that's kind of almost like senseless. It's like, I want to give wanton pain and suffering to many people at once, which is a very unique desire, right? So are murders mentally ill? Not necessarily. In fact, many killers don't meet the criteria for insanity. What's more, the field of psychology has struggled to create a psychological model that explains all of these acts. So copycat killings add another knot to the tangle. These are murders committed in a way that was established by a previous murder committed by another person. Some credit the year 1912 with the birth of the class of this kind of killer. Intense media coverage of the Jack the Ripper murders, which is obviously you've heard of them, spawned a multitude of similar crimes, and the term copycat effect came into being. Modern criminologists have long been aware of this potential for media exposure to lead to the copycat killings. As the media has grown, other forms of entertainment, especially movies and video games, have come under fire for allegedly leading to copycat basing crimes. But how can you really police that, right? So, it's okay. So again, let's take a look at this list. Probably the top 10. The Tylenol killers. Won't do all of them, but we'll definitely do a few so we can learn about them. In 1982, it's number 10 on the list on How Stuff Works. 1982, the public's trust in packaged over-the-counter medicines was fundamentally shaken. How? 7 people died in the Chicago area after taking extra-strength Tylenol that had been laced with cyanide. The deaths caused enough panic among Americans that the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, began to require that all over-the-counter drugs be sold in tamper-resistant packaging. So that's why you can thank those people. I went really nice with them. You can thank them for all the safety packages you can't open up, and you're like, it's for a baby. Those people are doing it, and the twist off with the thing and the gauze. Come on. Although one man was arrested and sentenced to prison for sending an extortion note to Johnson & Johnson. Good call. The makers of Tylenol, no one was ever arrested for the actual murders, and the case remains open. The widespread publicity given to the case has led to some copycats, however. Most notably, it came 4 years later when a woman in New York died minutes after taking 2 Tylenol capsules that turned out to be laced with cyanide. That same year, Excedrin joined the competitor as a vehicle for poison delivery. 2 people in Washington state died after taking cyanide-laced Excedrin. Great. That sucks. I like Excedrin. It gets rid of my migraine fast. In this case, however, the killer was uncovered. Stella Nickel, the wife of the man who died from the poison Excedrin, was found guilty of the product tampering and was sentenced to 80 years in prison. Oh, boy. Another copycat killer surfaced in 1993 with Joseph Melling, attempted to kill his wife and actually kill 2 strangers by filling Sudafed capsules with cyanide. He was sentenced to life in prison, of course. That's according to Snopes. The FDA's administration requires that over-the-counter medications be sold in tamper-resistant packaging is the direct result of Tylenol being laced with cyanide killings, and they're copycats. Thank you, copycats and ass clowns. Let's skip over this one. Let's look at the Matrix one. Actually, I've never heard of this, and this is the one that kind of really stuck out to me. Okay. So the Matrix copycats. let's take a gander under this frock. 1999, The Matrix. I was there. I was totally watching it. Changed my life. Is that air you're breathing? Was a box office absolute smash, right? Okay, good. And obviously, the Neo, the main guy, right, the character played by Keanu Reeves, he toggles between a computer simulated world called the Matrix. I'm sure you guys know about this, where he works as a computer programmer in the real world, and he becomes a hero bent on violently and forcibly freeing humans who have been subverted by technology. Bum, bum, bum. Spoiler alert, that's going to happen. Unfortunately, the movie and its sequels also may have inspired some copycat killings. I'm not sure why, because this is some futuristic shit. And in September 2002, Vadim Messages, good one, murdered his landlord in California and claimed that he'd been in the Matrix during the act. Of course. That same fall, Lee Boyd, who had been arrested for 10 deadly sniper shootings near Washington, D.C., gave homage to the Matrix in sketches he made while in jail. In February 2003, Virginian Joshua Cook said that he lived in the Matrix when he murdered his parents. I'm going to use this. Not to murder my parents. In July 2002, Tonda Lynn Ansley shot and killed her landlord. The Ohio resident told police that her landlord had been involved in a conspiracy to brainwash and murder her, just like Neo was persecuted in the Matrix. Okay, buddy. I mean, I don't know what to tell you there. It's a hell of a movie, right? But holy crap. I did want to take a look at, these are the blockbuster ones, right? So take a look at Dexter here, and we'll see what kind of copycats came of Dexter. I can see this one a lot more, right? This is literally, it's like on the nose. So the Dexter copycat, his name is Mark Andrew Twitchell, which is a unfortunate name. Twitchell. Come on. Wow. Police. I'm sorry. Police believe that Canadian independent filmmaker Mark Andrew Twitchell was on his way to becoming a full-fledged serial killer. Fortunately, he was caught before he was able to commit the requisite 3 murders, that's completely true. 3 murders makes you a serial killer. Look it up. Instead, he was discovered and stopped after his first killing in 2011. Sentenced to life in prison, Twitchell is said to have been inspired by the television show Dexter. Do you think he looks like him a little bit? Just a touch. Steve Michael Hall, right? So inspired by the TV show Dexter, which portrays a forensic scientist who stalks and murders serial murderers. So a murderer who catches murderers, Inception. Twitchell created his own plotline. However, he shot a short film about a vigilante murder with the same sequence of events that he would follow shortly afterwards. Do you see? Narcissist. This guy makes movies, and he made a movie about the movie he was going to shoot. Like, it's like OJ writing a book about doing it after he got, you idiot. Twitchell is believed to have placed an ad in an online dating service, womp womp, posing as a woman to lure John Brian Altinger to a rented garage. I can only imagine what that interaction was. Come where I'm at. Under the pretense of meeting a date. Right. Meet me in a warehouse. Okay. His disappearance and suspected murder may not have been linked to Twitchell had Altinger not emailed his friends directions to the garage before going. Police searched the leasing history of the garage and found that Mark Twitchell had rented it. So there you go. No matter how far back it goes, there's paper trails, guys. You're going to use emails. Like, don't use iMessage for anything. I'm not trying to give you a hint, but like, don't ever use iMessage for shit. It's like the worst thing you can do. Police began to suspect that Twitchell was on the path to a serial killer status after another man came forward. This near victim escaped from the same garage following being beaten by a man in a mask after he'd been lured there by the same online dating ruse. His escape took place a week before Altinger's disappearance. So that is the Dexter copycat, basically warehouse rentals, you know. And then this, I want to do number 1 because obviously this is number 1, but because it's murder, suicide, copycats in general. So murder, suicide, copycats. Let's see what this, it just sounds dumb. It sounds like it shouldn't exist. From March 2009 to April 2009, 43 people in the United States died during murder-suicides, stirring speculation that copycats were becoming inspired by real-life crimes. One of the most publicized incidents was shooting of 13 people at the American Civic Institute of Binghamton, New York, excuse me. And before the gunman turned the weapon on himself, in addition to, from 2008 to 2010, there was a series of parent-child murder-suicides for whatever reason in the state of California and Maryland. While researchers point to the possible combination of factors that may be responsible for the increase of murder-suicides, economics, unemployment, and passionate motives like jealousy, they also revealed that suicides alone are largely seasonal events. Listen to that again. Suicides alone are largely seasonal events. And let me guess which season, right? It's coming up. As evidenced by an uptick in self-inflicted deaths each spring, which is the time of love. And then there's this, well, we passed one, but there's, to me, October through January is pretty hardcore. So there's also an increase in the suicide rates surrounding a highly publicized suicide. So there's a big one. There's a couple of other ones that like they're infectious almost. There's like a radius of wanting to do the same thing. However, there's no conclusive evidence that murder-suicides follow the same patterns, even if there have been an unusual number of murder-suicides within specific time periods and proximities. So, yeah, that copycat killers essentially, I hope that kind of answers some questions for you, because copycat killers, remember, 3 people for a serial killer. And these people, like we're going to look at, I think next week we're going to look at dark tourists and people who actually wage for this, and how many of those people actually kind of turn to the dark side, right? And what's up with the parent child murder suicides? What is that for? I'm sorry, I'm an investigator, so I'm going to have to do this. There were a series of, sorry, I just have to do it. So I got to ask Gemini. Yeah, start the chat, baby. There we go. Yep, start the chat. So I want to ask about, you guys see that? You guys see Jem go to work? Maybe not. Oh, look at that guy, Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper. All right, you guys don't see the thing. That's fine. So I'll get another picture, and what I'll say is that. Okay, so let's ask a question. So, the question that we're asking is, we want to know about specifically copycat killers, but we want to know about. We're coming back to that. That's a good one. We're going to take a little break right after we wrap this one up. If anybody's going to be around still. Okay. Okay, so that's the one I wanted to know about, was the murder suicides of children. So parent, bear with me guys, parent is going to be worth it. Parent, child, joint suicides. It sounds icky just to fucking put it in there. Okay. So it looks like the phenomenon of a parent killing their child and then taking their own life is clinically referred to as filicide suicide. Okay, that's a new one. It is a complex and tragic act, obviously, that often studied through the lens of forensic psychology and criminology. Research into these cases include the widely cited typology developed by Dr. Philip Resnick, identifies several primary motives that will distinguish the incidents from other forms of violence, which is crazy. Like the fact that there's any justification, I get it, it's research, but like that should stop there. Like there's no reason. It's altruistic, right? Just the primary motives of somebody who does, let's use the proper terminology, filicide suicide, right? And I'll talk about the hard stuff so Sam won't. Sam, don't worry. So it's altruistic reasons. The parents just kills out of a distorted belief that the child is better off dead, often to save them from perceived sufferings for an intolerable world, right? People are not going to accept them later on. They make that choice for them. This is frequently associated with a deep parental depression or suicidal intent. They're acutely psychotic would be another one. The parent acts while they experience a severe mental health crisis, such as command hallucinations or delusional beliefs about the child where there's no rational motive that exists. They just berate this poor child. Spousal revenge. The children are killed specifically to punish or cause suffering to an intimate partner, often following a breakup, divorce, or conflict over custody. These cases are the children are sometimes viewed by the perpetrator as objects or extensions of the partner. Obviously, it's the only thing they share, right? It's the last thing that they can hold over their heads if you're crazy enough to do it. It's horrible. Fatal maltreatment. So those less likely to lead to suicide. These are cases where the child dies as a result of the abuse or neglect of their parent because they're too busy doing whatever. And then we've heard about that all the time, unfortunately. And an unwanted child, which is probably one of the saddest, is these instances involve a parent who just feels burdened by the child and lacks identification with them. So, through this motive, it's just less frequently done, but with, filicide, suicide, it's just because they just didn't want them, which is horrendous. Known factors for this are the obviously mental health, right? You can be totally sane, but also have intimate partner problems where it just conflicts with your relationships, and that seems to be more important than whatever the relationship with the child is. Demographics, where fathers who commit filicide suicide are more likely to kill multiple family members, like Chris Benoit, for example. somebody who just turns around and just, does their whole family. Moms are not typically going to do that. More often the target of older children. Mothers are more frequently linked to altruistic motives, like up there. Remember, altruistic meaning they believe that the child's better off dead. I'm going to make the decision for you. I know mom knows best, even in life and death. And then finally, environmental stressors like socioeconomic stressors, like sudden job loss or an environment that they can't afford anymore, find themselves in, described as anomic situations. And they can act as precipitating factors for when the combined stress of all of those things happen. Suicide is a lot more prevalent. I feel the need to say this, but I should probably, right? So if you're listening to this in a context that we're not usually going in, we go really deep into stuff. This is probably the first episode of Thought Brokers that goes really deep into some hard to say stuff. So again, I just put this out here for anybody. If you are someone who are experiencing these kind of mental health crises, if they're struggling, if they've mentioned anything that sounds funny to you, really say something. You can call 988 to reach the suicide and crisis prevention. That's open 24 hours a day. 988 from any phone, and you will get the help that you need if it's something that you need to address. So sorry about the heaviness. Holy crap. Let's stop this. And doing good. I'm not crying. You guys crying? So I'm going to be back. I'm going to play a little bit of the song. Trust me, guys, I don't want to play this song out, but it's the one we got, right? I'm in the process of writing a couple more, so you guys can have 3, right? One for the intermission, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll be back. I'll be back. Not we, me. You're stuck with me. And I'll see you in a minute.
Turn the microphone up. Yeah, yo, check this out. San Miami and AC in your sight. That's what I'm talking about. We on the line tonight. Yeah. It must be Friday night, huh? Check it, right? Thought Brokers on the air. It gotta be Friday night. You know AC and Sam I am. Every take come tight. They come correct with the true crime. Cut through the hype. If you ain't tapped in yet, you behind on sight. They got the news, got the facts. Every angle they glean. Thought Brokers breaking down true crime coats in between. Story veterans, seasoned voices sitting the scene. They've been cooking up these cases for a hot minute. Claim if there was trophies for getting lit and still going live, they sweep the whole award show. Every medal, all 5. Buzz brain, sharp tape, still the logic survive. They keep it honest, keep it raw, keep the madness alive. And it's not only news, it's the jokes that they choose. Words are hard. 1-star strip clubs, they review the rules. Very passionate rundowns on them toys you can use. Amazon confessionals, pick a product and muse. Alex murder, OJ headlines, Gypsy Rose in the file. Twin flame scammers, Menendez on the case profile. People kidnapped, hoodwinked with a digital smile. Scammed and straight up whack, it's in the docket on trial. They don't matter, the fatter that the storyline stack, the better payoff in the end when they're running it back. They break it down frame by frame, every detail intact. Never slack, never clock out, they stay on the attack. Let's act. Sam, I am in AC. Sam, I am in AC. That perspective is key. Perfect duo to make you look and actually see all the bad in the world, all the rot underneath. From the killers to the monsters living right down the street. They ain't stuck on pretty phrases. They don't dance round facts. Ain't too many extra fillers when they talk on the acts. They just lay it how it is, how these villains react. Bang, bang, case closed, bodies vanish on track. What about coats? They got that every chapter and song. From the quiet gated suburbs to the doctrines gone wrong. When the power and obsession run insanely strong. They call it twisted out, tell you why it's been wrong. So long. Somewhere out there is a system that keeps letting it slide. Whole towns look the other way, just protecting the pride. But the brokers pull receipts, bring the truth to the light. Name the patterns that repeat when the money's in sight. Probably best in the world at exposing the scheme. So sit down, let the feed roll. Welcome into the stream. One of the best boy-girl tag teams you ever have seen. Pulling threads on every case till the motives are clean. Words are hard, yeah Sam, but you still land tough. Hard as hell, but you spin them when the topics are rough. Might laugh at the stumbles when the phrasing is scuffed, but the insight stays sharp and the research enough. Yeah, AC, yo, where you at? Light the vibe, set the scene. Joints, blunts, gummies line, keep the stress off the screen.
I'm here. I'm here. Say, AC, where you at? I'm here. Just a couple minutes to stretch the old legs and use the restroom, but I'm gonna kind of keep it brief because there's not much more left, and I wanted to definitely not going to do 1-star reviews because you know what? Maybe we do something else though. Maybe not what we usually do, but we'll do 1-star reviews, um, and we'll check out maybe a church, maybe some state churches in Kentucky, because that's what we do. All right, so let's get rid of some of these tabs because we talked about it already. Bye bye. Bye bye. Miss American Pie. Right. Get rid of that. And right. Let's talk about. Talk about. We're gonna hop between like a in between segments, right? I wanted to quickly talk about the. I'm gonna share this here. Perfect. Okay. So I don't need to bring this up for you guys. You can just kind of hear me read it. If it's something good, I will share it. So I want you guys to check out the Milgram experiment. Okay, the Milgram obedience experiment was one of the most. I don't know what are the words. I'm going at the top of the head. It's mind bending. It really is. And if you guys have heard, please do 1 star. Okay, I will. Yeah. All right. Whoa, 1 star. We'll do it. She loves it. 1 stars are fun. But okay, so the Milgram obedience experiment is more. How many people would hurt someone if an authority figure told them to? Is basically it. It's hard for me to say that. How many people would hurt someone if given the power to? The answer surprised everybody. Some people might know this is a popular social experiment that went down. So in 1961, 65% of participants administered the maximum potential fatal 450 volt shock to a learner, defying expert predictions that less than 3% would do so. So let's unpack that. 65% of participants, right, given a sample size, were given power, right, to shock another human being. 450 volt shock, right? Defying expert predictions that 3% of them would do it, 65% ended up doing it. So big L for people, right? For humans. Participants showed extreme distress. Obedience levels remained high, and through variations showed that situational factors like pure rebellion, so the fact that other people would egg them on, right? If you just didn't necessarily want to do this to the other group of people who didn't have power, they still egg you on to do it, right? Because people are whack. And I think I want to show you the Milgram experiment here on Wikipedia. So what is it, right? In the 60s, a series of these social psychology experiments that were conducted by Yale University, specifically Stanley Milgram, who's intended to measure the willingness of study participants to obey an authority figure who instructed them to perform acts of conflicting with their personal conscience. So they have personal conscience, and it's completely combating with their belief system, but still, you were given this badge, right, or this thing that separates you and makes you an other or a higher than these other folks. What would you do with that? And they were instructed to perform acts conflicting with their conscience, like I said. Participants were led to believe that they were assisting in a fictitious experiment in which they had to administer electric shocks to a learner, quote unquote. These fake electric shocks gradually increased to levels that would have been torturous had they been real. Okay. They were given some power. Here's some power. And people were like, thank you, power, I have it. And they were like, don't go crazy with the power. And they were like, right? And eventually they did it so often and so brutally that if it would have been real, these people would have died for sure. 450 volts, you're toast. So the experiments unexpectedly found that a very high proportion of subjects would obey the instructions, with every participant going up to 300 volts and 65% going to the 450 volts that would kill a man or a woman. Milgram first described his research in 1963. It was an article that came out called in the Journal of Abnormal and Social Psychology. The findings in the greater depths of his 1974 book, Obedience to Authority, an Experimental View. So these are the two books that would have this entirety. If you, this is something that really, runs your hamster, you should probably do this and check these out. And there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. The experiments began in 1961, and they were at Yale University 3 months after the start of the trial. Pretty much of the German Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann in Jerusalem. It's pretty much when they, in 1963, but that's when it corresponded. So there might have been some I don't know, some national ire. And of course, he was, a part of literally they claim that they were just following orders, right? And this has to, like how much the cops, yeah. If you were a cop, how much orders would you take until something that clashed with your own belief system? And anybody who's been a first responder or like a cop or Laurel, I'm looking at you. Like, at what point do you say I can't do that? That's beyond my. I don't want to do that. And then at what point is that treason? At what point is that you going against your job or job abandonment? And what happens to you, right? So again, Adolf Eichmann in Jerusalem, he was one of the perpetrators of the Holocaust. He just said, "Hey, I was just following orders, man. But is that going to hold up?" Right? So 3 individuals took part in each session of the experiment. So there's the experimenter who was in charge of the session, the teacher who was a volunteer for a single session. Teachers, quote unquote, were led to believe that they were just merely assisting, whereas they were actually the true subjects of the experiment, right? The learner, quote unquote, an actor and confederate of the experiment, of the experimenter, who pretended to be another volunteer. So again, the learner was an actor who knew the deal and of the experimenter, and they pretended to be, just another volunteer, but they knew what was up. The teacher, the subject, and the learner, the actor, arrived at the session together. The experimenter told them that they were taking a part in a scientific study of memory and learning to see the effect of punishment on a subject's ability to memorize content. Also, he was clarified that the payment for their participation in the experiment was secured regardless of their development. So they were going to get paid anyway. The subject and actor drew slips of paper to determine their roles. Unbeknownst to the subject, both slips said teacher, right? He was going to be who was going to be anyway. The actor would always claim to have drawn the slip that read learner. So no matter what, the teacher was going to get it, thus guaranteeing that the subject would always be the teacher, right? We needed that person to be the teacher. Next, the teacher and the learner were taken into an adjacent room where the learner was strapped into what appeared to be an electric chair. The experimenter, dressed in a lab coat in order to appear to have more authority. This is how people, get one of those like, well, he's wearing a coat. I just want to talk to that guy. He must know. He told the participants that this was to ensure that the learner would not escape, right? And he was obviously locked in, right? And the learner, who's the confederate, the guy who's in on it, would eventually plead for mercy and yell that he had a heart condition. At some point prior to the actual test, the teacher was given a sample electric shock from the electroshock generator in order to experience firsthand what the shock that the learner would supposedly receive during the experiment. So they gave him one. So he on top of it, the person who was a part of the experiment, the guy who's we only thought 3% of those people were going to exist, right? What they said was, well, here's a shock. You're going to know what this is like. So there's no excuse now, right? They tasted it and they were like, yeah, I can't wait to give it to somebody else. So the teacher and the learner were then separated so the teacher and the learner were then separated so that they could communicate but not see each other. The teacher was then given a list of word pairs, and then they would teach the learner. The teacher began by reading the list and word pairs to the learner. The teacher would then read the first word of each pair and read 4 possible answers. The learner would press a button to indicate a response, right? Friggin' Jeopardy. Boop, boop. If the answer was incorrect, the teacher would administer a shock. So the learner, kind of like what we do with, I hate it, like animals. If the answer was incorrect, the teacher would administer a shock, and then the voltage would increase 15-volt increments for each wrong answer. So if you kept being wrong, 15 to 450, which is 15 is a little buzz, 450 is lights out. The shock generator included verbal markings that range from slight shock to danger to severe shock. The teachers, i.e. the true research subjects, the people that were actually studying, believed that for each wrong answer, the learner was receiving actual shocks. So this person thought it was actually happening, right? This is crucial to know. The person thought it was like, yeah, oh yeah, they're little shocks, and that's fine if it goes up 15-volt increments. I don't care. It's not me. In reality, there were no shocks, and the learner simulated suffering increases levels of pain to the shocks, right? So they just increased it, and they knew about it. They were cognizant of like, oh, it's fine. They can take it. It's okay if I do it, right? It's dissociative. And as the voltage of the fake shocks increased, the learner began making audible protests, such as banging repeatedly on the wall that separated him from the teacher. In every condition, the learner makes or says a predetermined sound or word. When the highest voltages were reached, the learner fell silent, emulating lights out. If at any time the teacher indicated the people who, the guy who were actually in the experiment, who were experimenting on, the teacher indicated a desire to halt the experiment, the experimenter was instructed to give a specific verbal prod. The prods were in this order. Please continue or please go on. The experiment requires you to continue. It is absolutely essential that you continue. You have no choice. You must go on. So every time that these people would protest, those are the four phrases that were said, and they were fine with saying them. It could be used. So let's skip ahead a little bit. So the experimenter also had prods if the teacher asked whether the learner might suffer permanent physical harm, like he would know these things, right? And why I'm going through this is because I got to paint the picture that this guy knew everything. This gal, whatever, they knew everything. They were cognizant of everything all the way down. Like nothing was hidden from them, right? So before conducting the experiment, Milgram polled 14 Yale University senior year psychology majors to predict the behavior of 100 hypothetical teachers. The poll gave them 3 out of 100. Okay, which is crazy. Only the tiniest amount would be prepared to inflict the maximum voltage. Boy, were they wrong. Milgram also informally polled his colleagues that were found that they too believed that very few subjects would get 450 volts, hypothetically. He also reached out to the honorary Harvard graduate, Haim Hormick, who noted that his experiment would not be concrete evidence, of course, because of the Nazis' innocence, due to the fact that poor people are more likely to cooperate. That's a whole nother thing to unpack, right? So people in a lower economic status might be more willing to comply. It makes sense on the onset. I think there's a lot more to unpack. They predicted that by the 300 volt shock, right? They're going 15 volt increments to 450, which is death. At the 300 mark, the victim would refuse to answer. Only 3.73% of the subjects would still continue. And they believed that only a little over 1/10 of the percentage of subjects would be administered the highest shock on the board. I know it's a lot of reading, guys, but do you see how people just think that people are good inherently, and you kind of have to think the other way around. Obviously, as things come out, I want to think there's good in the world, of course, but given what we know about leadership, right? How many people wouldn't do that today? I think if we repeated it today, people didn't know about this. I think it might be about the same on either side of any spectrum. So the results came back, and the subjects were uncomfortable administering the shocks and displayed varying degrees of tension and stress. These signs included sweating, trembling, stuttering, biting their lips, groaning, and digging their fingernails into their skin. And some were even having nervous laughing fits or seizures. 14 of the 40 subjects showed definite signs of nervous laughing or smiling. Smiling, guys, smiling. Every participant paused the experiment for at least one to question it. Most continued after being assured by the experimenter that it's fine. And they were like, yeah, you're right, it's fine. Let's keep going. Zap, zap. Some said that they would refund the money they were paid for participating because they felt so bad. The guilt was taking over. They were like, I don't deserve this money. But not that many. And then The original simulated shock generator and the event recorder or shock box is located in the archives of the American History Museum of Psychology, which is super interesting. And we learned a lot that basically the level of obedience dropped from 65 to 47%, suggesting that scientific credibility could be very well play a larger role in that authority. So the whole structure itself might be skewed, but at least 47% would have definitely done it. And the participants who refused to administer the final shocks neither insisted that the experiment be terminated, nor left the room to check the health of the victim or Milgram's notes. So they would just be like, okay, that's fine, I'm good. It's a huge ethics problem, it kind of exposes you, right? And I wish that there was kind of almost more of that today, so we can know who we're dealing with and the kind of sociopaths we work with every day. Somebody's Patrick Bateman out there. Somebody's just a good-looking guy with a suit on, and he's going nuts. Nobody's checking on him. I promise you that. So I wanted to go through that. If you guys are more, just want to check this out a little bit more, there's a total applicability to the Holocaust area of this. There is a couple different facets, and of course, it's very similar to the other one where there was cops and inmates, and they did this a different experiment where they ended up same kind of thing, skewed to the cop side. The cops had this, it was fake, and people get power hungry for fake power. Of course, they're going to go for real power. It's just everything's corrupt. Absolutely, not because of money, because of people, in my opinion. And yeah, so that's the Milgram experiment. I thought that was important to learn about because if you want to learn more, it tells you a lot about people. And as we get to it really quick, we have about 15 or so minutes left. The Stanford prison experiment. I'm going to share this with you guys because I want you guys to see it. And that's what I was talking about. Stanford prison experiment. Here we go. Share. Got it. So Stanford, that's exactly what I was talking about before. You guys have probably heard about this. So the Stanford prison experiment in 1971, we're going to go a little quicker. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo demonstrated how the power of situational roles and individuation, how about that, can alter human behavior. So randomly assigned healthy college students rapidly adopted oppressive guard and submissive prisoner personas, highlighting how quickly ordinary people can conform to corruptive conditions. So this is a pretty popular one, and it's what I just mentioned after that one. It completely correlates to the Milgram. Let's get out of that. So it's famous, it's debated, it's crazy. So what is de-individuation? Stripping individuals of their personal identity, using numbers instead of names, kind of like the Holocaust, uniforming, and dissolves moral responsibility. So it's kind of like being in a cult. It just wears you down. Situational power. It showed that toxic or unregulated environments often trump a person's individual moral traits. If we're all together and it's a big club and you ain't in it, you're going to get your ass beat, typically. The Lucifer effect. So Zimbardo's core conclusion was that good people can cross lines and commit terrible acts if they put it into a bad barrel of institutional hierarchy and unchecked power. I tend to agree with that. When there's a big structure of people together and mob mentality happens and you think you have it over other people, it's intrinsic. Modern reevaluations are pretty much contemporary psychologists challenge the study's scientific rigor, noting that the experiments actively coached guards on how to behave, making it more of a demonstration than an objective science experiment. So let's take a look at it here, and we'll look at the history of it. And we'll take a quick look at this, and just so you guys can take a look at it and possibly follow it down this rabbit hole if you haven't gone down it before. So the Stanford prison experiment is a social psychology study in which college students became prisoners and guards in a simulated prison environment where one had obviously more power than the other. It was 1971 when they did it, and it was intended to measure the effect of role-playing, labeling, social expectations on behavior over a period of 2 weeks. So this is a long time, right? More than 70 young men responded to an advertisement that said psychological study of prison life. And experimenters selected 24 applicants who were judged to be physically and mentally healthy and well-adjusted. The paid subjects received $15 a day, which is pretty good in 71. Were divided randomly into equal numbers of guards and prisoners, and guards were ordered not to physically abuse the prisoners and were issued mirrored sunglasses, which is the key, right? Because there's no soul down there. If you keep looking at that, there's nothing to grab on. There's no human, right? It cuts it off. So prisoners were arrested, quote unquote, by actual police and handed over to the experimenters in a mock prison in the basement of a campus building. The prisoners were then subjected to indignities and were intended to simulate the environment of a real-life prison, in keeping with Zimbardo's intention to create a very quickly an atmosphere of oppression. And that's especially when you have some hotheads. Each prisoner was made to wear a dress as a uniform and made to carry a chain padlocked around his ankle. All participants were observed and videotaped by the experimenters. So here's a quick picture of that. And 71, these guys were chips, or, what's his name? What are the chips called? And here's some pictures. These guys were all about it, right? Let's get rid of that. Let's go back to the, so only on the second day, so only on the second day that the prisoners staged a rebellion that was put down by the guards. Guards then worked out a system of rewards and punishments to manage the prisoners. Within the first 4 days, 3 prisoners had become so traumatized that they were released. Over the course of the experiment, some of the guards became cruel and tyrannical, and a number of them, prisoners, became depressed and disoriented. However, only after an outside observer came upon the scene and registered shock did Zimbardo end the experiment. So it was running amok. So despite its early termination, the experiment seemed to show that the regular attitudes and behavior of normal persons could dramatically altered in social situations. If you're given a lot of power, you're probably going to use it. And especially if you're, egged on by, there's people of that ilk everywhere. And you select healthy people, you're going to get somebody who's a hothead. It's going to be infectious, and they're going to talk people into it. Like, yeah, man, just do it. Look, you have a badge. And there's the people who never had power before, and they're going to abuse it. The most conspicuous challenge to the Stanford findings came decades later in the form of the BBC prison study, a differently organized experiment documented in British Broadcasting Network, BBC, series called The Experiment in 2002. The BBC's mock prisoners turned out to be more assertive than Zimbardo's. The British experimenters called the Stanford experiment a study of what happens when powerful authority figure imposes tyranny. So you guys want to learn more about that? You definitely should. The Stanford Prison Experiment, 1971. And it's amazing dive into people's psyche and what they do with power and unchecked power. Yeah. So we've talked about all types of stuff. I think we have time. With the last 9 minutes, I just think it's to the wire. So let's play with this. So we're gonna go to so it's 1-star review time. I wish I had a button that gave me the 1-star review time.
Do
1-star review time. So let's look at let's go to freaking Yelp. Yelp, and then let's go to. There's got to be on a separate one. I look for a church, Kentucky Snake Church. Did a whole documentary on that. I did a whole podcast on that once, and it was crazy. I know some people who are actually part of this. Kentucky snake churches are small, independent holiness or Pentecostal congregations in the Appalachia that practice literal snake handling based on the Gospel of Mark, the book of the whole crazy. This tradition is highly secretive and has faced a lot of legal bans. Just so people don't know about it, this is what it is. So let's find a specific one. Kentucky Snake Church. I would love to talk Sam into doing this. Anybody ever review them? Okay. So, all right. Looks like reviews for Kentucky snake handling churches, such as Full Gospel Tabernacle. Okay, great. So we'll go to Full Gospel Tabernacle in Middlesboro. See what kind of reviews they get on Yelp. Snakes were not fresh. Yelp, and let's see if this exists. Let's sign into Yelp so we can get a better review on it. Beautiful. Thank you so much for knowing me. All right. All right. Yes, verify my device. Verify me. Verify me. Verify my love. Okay, here you go. Romantic. Nothing. Boom. Accountants. Tabernacle. Middlesboro. Come on now. Okay, so I think we got a hit here. So First Baptist Church Middlesboro closed. Let's see. This is all live, guys. So just so you know, I am. This part is winging it. Let's see. You have any reviews? Okay, yeah, I sure do. Well, first of all, it says a warm, inviting. This is a 5-star review, right? A warm, inviting, inclusive faith community in the historic town of Middlesboro, Kentucky. This church has long heritage of being an alternative Baptist voice, right? So you mean Snake Church, and values being welcomed and thoughtfully engaged in its small. It does not do any of that. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. First Baptist Church in Middlesboro. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're killing me. 1-star review. Write a review. It's time for me to write one. Do you have a 1-star review? Let's see. One. Oh, nobody. No, of course not. They're completely brainwashed. There's no. Yeah, they're like, we can't give it a 1-star review. It's crazy. It has one review. So it's obviously nobody's. Yeah, come on, Adrian. Obviously, yeah, they're gonna be like, we're gonna talk shit about these people. So let's go to here. Let's go. So we'll go churches around this place. There's got to be something better. Go here, and then we're going to go to Baptist Church. Maybe it's Baptist, I'm sorry. It just happens to be that. Anything I ever review here? No, nothing. That's crazy. That's crazy. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Y'all don't write reviews about churches? Okay, fine. Fine. Boring. Boo. Okay, so it says here 1-star reviews for churches on Yelp typically highlight poor visitor experiences, theological disputes. That's great. They felt like common complaints are the Spring Valley area focus on unwelcoming congregations, aggressive fundraising, disorganized children's ministries, of course, and loud rock concert style worship. We don't want that. For example, lower rated experiences at local churches campuses are emphasizing the following pain points: lack of community connection. It's too mega church. It's too clicky, right? Too mean girl to be a church. Aggressive tithing, right? Complaints that they pass the church. No shit, they fucking they're gonna absolutely pass that around quickly. Let's take a look. So inside of Yelp, oh, I've been blocked. I've been blocked. Oh, guys, this is investigative reporting. Investigative reporting at its best. Intrusive follow-ups. Here we go. Walk church. Walk church. Walk church. Here we go. Let's go. Let's do that. Is he gonna? No. Where's the meter? How many y'all got? How many y'all got? I have never experienced a community church-based church such as this that welcomes everyone and anyone looking to lead a free and spirited life. I don't know. I don't believe you. Where's the thing? I don't want to add a review. Where are the reviews at? Why are you being so dodgy with this? They're usually right there. That's crazy. Elite. Christy. I'll find you. I'll find you. This is investigative reporting, guys. You're with me live on location in my home. Okay. I know for a fact that these people, Chapel, I don't need to get the damn app. Get out of here. Get out of here. Helpful. How do I get down to the nitty gritty? They don't have any. Ooh, Church LV. Let's show you one of these Church LV ones. Let's see what they got. Oh, boo. So apparently, what we learned today, ladies and gentlemen, is that these people have a tight Yelp system here where they don't let anything leak out, and they're like, no, let's sort by. Okay, there we go. You can't sort by this. You are so stupid. Okay, sort. You cannot sort on here. That's so dumb. Come on. Boo. Boo. Boo, 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 boo. Oh, restaurants. That's so whack, dude. How can you just scrub your, look at that. It's been locked. Church don't want no 1 stars. God don't accept 1 star. Sorry. Let's try one more. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, there we go. Some 1 star. There's a 1 star. Okay. So a 1 star. So Spokane, Troy S. from Spokane Valley, Washington. This is about a church, 2022. I was in their parking lot dropping some things off at the Opportunity Village donation trailer when I realized I needed a restroom. I went to the church office to ask for permission to use theirs. They're all on the 2nd floor and they're all locked. You don't have any down here I could use? No, but I will call and see. I heard someone say that there's someone allegedly on the other end. Some guy is here to use the bathroom. Do you work here? The woman asked. No. And then there's none available. Wow. Is this not a church? This is an office of a church, right? And the church is not supposed to offer refuge to the needy. What would Jesus think about that? Can't let you use it. Sorry. Jesus Christ. This is, I'm sorry. This is a church, right? He goes, this is an office of a church. Wow. 1 star review. 1 star says JH, girl with hot pink hair. Pretty sad. My work schedule changed, so I had to leave Central because it doesn't work with my new shift. The crossing is a mile from my house and on the way back from work. So at least I didn't think to have to drive anymore. This is my first time. They had really nice service with Pastor Mike Barreau, and it's people that got me. It appears that as soon as they leave the building, they lose their values. Oh, I know. We just talked about them. I was one of the first in my car, couldn't back out. Not a single person let me out. I could not back out. I watched them not even care if someone was crossing the street. They were zooming in and out of the parking lot. I wore heels and drive a manual. The second I was able to try the backup, I did, but I put it in first. And I was so stressed, I panicked that I stalled. And the instant I stalled, I was getting honked at. Are you kidding? Are you kidding you? Are you kidding you? This behavior from Christians in the church parking lot, unbelievable. Central is obviously a much larger church, and I went there for the day service, and it looks like I'm never going back there again because she drives a manual. I'm sorry. Let's just a couple more here. So Las Vegas, Nevada. After my father-in-law died, we asked, this is 1 star from Ray H. After my father-in-law died, we asked for someone to come pray with us. After one prayer, he said he had to go. Thanks for nothing. After going there for 4 years, I won't be going back. I have to go. I'm sorry. Oh man, did they respond to him? Previous review. Thanks for nothing. We are reviewing one in Las Vegas. Oh God, I hope it's not the one my mom goes to. I'm sure it's much better when on Sunday mornings. Hi Tara. Okay, so I had been corresponding. Is that even worth it? It's a long one. Jesus, it's a long one. How about this one? Janet, 1 star. I had gone to this church for over 2 years, and in my opinion, they certainly have lost their focus and only cared about the money. I stopped going there 2 months ago. Well, I get a letter several days ago from them, not asking if everything's okay. Am I okay? No. The letter said, even though I haven't attended recently, I can still donate. They don't care about people, only money, hypocrites. Yikes. Yikes. That's how you get in trouble. That's how you get in trouble with God. That's a local one. That's Las Vegas. A couple other ones where people look irate. Maybe I'll look back to this one day. It seems pretty frivolous, but yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. 1-star reviews is what they are. So I think I'm right on time, just over. I hope you guys had a educational and enjoyable experience. This is the way it is with me. So mommy's not here. Daddy's home. You're going to get some medicine and you're going to learn some shit. But we're also going to do 1-star reviews, which were pretty hilarious. That one by JH is like, I couldn't get out. I couldn't get out of the parking lot, you Christians. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. It's been a quick 2 hours. I learned a lot. And let's see, I have some parting statements for you. Sure do. So to bring it back, I know we had some laughs, but to bring it back here, definitely. Oh, let's pick a comment of the night. Comment of the night. Yeah, we had a couple of them, and I'm going to go ahead and say that. Yeah, Laurel's got it. Laurel's got the comment of the night. He's hot, and they're not connected to what heinous crime he did. It's true. We're going to do that every time. We usually have more comments, but that was right. He's hot. Hey, he's hot. Even she fell for it. So that's the comment of the night, and so closing statement here. What's a question for you, maybe for next week if you can remember, and then what is the closest you've ever been to a real crime story? I can tell you, not to go into detail, I was very close to one about 1.5 years ago. I was living true crime, and it was crazy. And you've been close to a neighbor, a coworker, a family member, strange coincidence, a moment that still doesn't sit right. Think about that for next week or whenever you watch the show. You can always hit us up in the comments. Please follow us at Thought Brokers, at Thought Brokers on YouTube. And to wrap it all up, we spend our lives believing that we're spectators, but watching from a safe distance, right? Every now and then, every time we come across this stuff, it begs to think that someone's crossed the line. It's just the sheer amount of people, right? And a fan becomes obsessed, or a detective becomes a vigilante, or a witness becomes involved, or suddenly the distance between observer and the offender doesn't look quite as wide. It's not quite the chasm it was before because you're really close to it. And I can tell you right now that I've been close to it. And the things that I've wanted to do after I was so close to it was probably crime. But we won't get into that. One of the most important questions isn't why they cross the line. I think it's understanding why the line is there in the first place. Think of it that way. Why is there a line so close to it? Why do we get to be so close to it? Why is there so much true crime that we can touch? Something to think about. Thanks, guys. First Stop Brokers Alone. Hope you guys have a great night, great weekend. Enjoy it. And here's the song again.
Turn the microphone up. Yeah, yo, check this out. San Miami and AC in your sight. That's what I'm talking about. on the air. It gotta be Friday night. You know AC and Sam I am, every take come tight. They come correct with the true crime, cut through the hype. If you ain't tapped in yet, you behind on sight. They got the news, got the facts, every angle they glean. Thought brokers breaking down true crime, coats in between. Story veterans, seasoned voices sitting the scene. They've been cooking up these cases for a hot minute clean. If there was trophies for getting lit and still going live, they sweep the whole award show, every medal, all five. Buzz brain, sharp tape, still the logic survive. They keep it honest, keep it raw, keep the madness alive. And it's not only news, it's the jokes that they choose. Words are hard, one-star strip clubs, they review the rules. Very passionate rundowns on them toys you can use. Amazon confessionals, pick a product and muse. Alex murder, OJ headlines, Gypsy Rose in the file, twin flame scammers, Menendez on the case profile. People kidnapped, hoodwinked with a digital smile, scammed and straight up whack. It's in the docket on trial. They don't matter, the fatter that the storyline stack, the better payoff in the end when they're running it back. They break it down frame by frame, every detail intact. Never slack, never clock out, they stay on the attack. Let's act. Sam, I am in AC. Sam, I am in AC. That perspective is key. Perfect duo to make you look and actually see all the bad in the world, all the rot underneath. From the killers to the monsters living right down the street. They ain't stuck on pretty phrases, they don't dance round facts. Ain't too many extra fillers when they talk on the acts. They just lay it how it is, how these villains react. Bang, bang, case closed, bodies vanish on track. What about coats? They got that every chapter and song. From the quiet gated suburbs to the doctrines gone wrong. When the power and obsession run insanely strong, they call it twisted out, tell you why it's been wrong. So long. Somewhere out there is a system that keeps letting it slide. Whole towns look the other way, just protecting the pride. But the brokers pull receipts, bring the truth to the light. Name the patterns that repeat when the money's in sight. Probably best in the world at exposing the scheme. So sit down, let the feed roll. Welcome into the stream. One of the best boy-girl tag teams you ever have seen. Pulling threads on every case till the motives are clean. Words are hard, yeah Sam, but you still land tough. Hard as hell, but you spin them when the topics are rough. Might laugh at the stumbles when the phrasing is scuffed, but the insight stays sharp and the research enough. Yeah, AC, yo, where you at? Light the vibe, set the scene. Joints, blunts, gummies line, keep the stress off the screen. Beer, vodka, or some whiskey while they comb through the mean. Say it with me, pour it up, keep the conscience clean. Thought brokers, name ringing every feed that you see. Sam I am and AC, bring the oddity spree. Thought brokers, where the thoughts and the brain waves agree. Thoughts and brain matter, that's the only real currency. Thought brokers bring the weirdest little crime to your door. From the headlines to the footnotes you ain't heard before. They entangle all the rumors, leave the truth at the core. Every Friday, different rabbit hole to fall and explore. Yeah. Thought brokers pick a platform, they already on it. From the phone in your hand to the screen where you want it. They lace a random fact, drop a gem, make you ponder upon it. Put a feather in your bonnet with the way that they flaunt it. And if you hate one-star strip club reviews they spit, then you ain't home, you off base. You ain't built for this wit, far from it. Wrong stomach for the jokes that they fit. They stay blunt, never filter.